The USS Abraham Lincoln operates in the North Arabian Sea. This is the most powerful mobile airbase in human history. Nuclear propulsion, 90 aircraft, 5,000 crew, Aegis escort destroyers. Yet the Pentagon just deployed Air Force F-15EX Strike Eagles to support carrier operations in the Persian Gulf. Here's the question that reveals everything. Why does the world's most advanced aircraft carrier need backup from a fighter jet designed in the 1970s? The answer isn't weakness, it's geometry. You'll understand why stealth fighters cannot carry the weapons needed to destroy hardened Iranian bunkers, how the F-15EX solves a physics problem the F-35 cannot, and why integrated kill chains combining old and new platforms create overwhelming force. This is about engineering reality meeting geographic constraints. Let's decode why carriers need the Strike Eagle. Look at the map. The Persian Gulf. To naval strategists, this isn't water. This is a bathtub, a geographic trap. The Strait of Hormuz measures 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. For a Nimitz-class carrier displacing 100,000 tons, entering these waters creates a nightmare scenario. Carriers rely on maneuverability. They disappear into open ocean where threats cannot find them. Inside the Gulf, the Lincoln becomes a fixed target in a confined space. That's why in 2026, American carriers hold station outside the Gulf in the North Arabian Sea. Safety through distance. But distance creates a problem. The Iranian coast bristles with threats, thousands of short-range ballistic missiles, anti-ship cruise missiles, hundreds of fast attack craft designed to swarm naval formations. The threat density is absolute. Reaction time is zero. Now look at the carrier's air wing. F/A-18 Super Hornets carrying AIM-9X Sidewinders and AIM-120 AMRAAMs. These aircraft aren't configured for strike missions. They're flying combat air patrol 24 hours a day. Their job is defensive. SWAT down suicide drones, sink speedboats trying to ram the hull. Every F-18 dedicated to protecting the ship is an F-18 that cannot strike enemy targets. The offensive firepower of the carrier strike group has been locked into defensive posture. The shield is up, the sword is sheathed. So what about the F-35C? The Lincoln carries the Black Knights of VMFA 314. The F-35C is the solution, right? It can penetrate Iranian air defenses invisibly and strike targets deep inland. Except there's a physics problem. To maintain stealth, the F-35C must carry all weapons internally. Open the weapon bay schematic. The internal bays are small. They're designed for air-to-air missiles or 2,000-pound GBU-31 JDAMs. A GBU-31 destroys buildings. It destroys bridges. But Iran spent 2 decades digging. Nuclear program facilities are buried under mountains. Command and control centers sit beneath 30 feet of reinforced concrete. To kill these targets, you need penetrator weapons, specialized bunker busters weighing 5,000 pounds. These weapons physically do not fit inside the F-35C. If you hang them on external pylons, you lose stealth. If you lose stealth, Iranian S-300 batteries kill you before you reach the target. This is the dilemma. The carrier has the shield protecting itself. It has the scalpel that can penetrate defenses, but it lacks the hammer that breaks concrete. Enter the F-15EX Strike Eagle. Strip away the nostalgia. This aircraft is not a fighter in the modern sense. It's a flying magazine. Maximum takeoff weight, 81,000 pounds. That's 40 tons of metal and fuel screaming into the sky. Payload capacity, 23,000 pounds. One F-15EX carries the explosive payload of 3 F-35s combined. This isn't precision strike. This is industrial delivery. And we brought them to the Middle East for one specific weapon that solves the geometry problem. The GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. This is 30,000 pounds of hardened steel and high explosives. But even the F-15EX cannot carry that monster. So for most hardened targets, the weapon of choice is the GBU-28 Bunker Buster. This is 5,000 pounds of specialized steel designed to survive impact with concrete at supersonic speeds. Most gravity bombs have thin steel skins. When they hit reinforced concrete at Mach 0.8, they fail structurally. They deform, they pancake on impact, and the energy dissipates sideways instead of downward. The GBU-28 is different. Its casing is forged from surplus artillery barrels. It doesn't crumple. It transfers 100% of kinetic energy into a single concentrated point. Inside sits a smart fuse designed to survive impact shock exceeding 10,000 Gs. It doesn't detonate on contact. It burrows through 30 feet of earth and 10 feet of concrete. It waits until it detects the void of the room inside. Only then does it trigger. But to activate that physics equation, you need terminal velocity. You need to drop it from altitude. And this creates a launch platform requirement that disqualifies almost every other aircraft in the inventory. To drop a GBU-28, you need an aircraft with a frame strong enough to carry 5,000 pounds on the centerline without snapping the titanium spar. You need engines powerful enough to drag that weight up to 30,000 feet to give the bomb enough potential energy to reach penetration speed. The F-35 cannot do it. The bay is too small. The F-18 cannot do it. It lacks the thrust-to-weight ratio to haul that load deep into enemy territory and return. Only the F-15EX has the brute mechanical capacity for this job. But it's not just about weight. It's about station time. Look at the fuselage. Those bulges on the sides are conformal fuel tanks. They increase drag, but they hold thousands of pounds of extra fuel without taking up a weapon station. This gives the F-15EX the ability to loiter. It can take off from a remote airstrip, fly to the Persian Gulf, and sit in the sky waiting. When the carrier signals a target, the F-15 doesn't have to launch. It's already there. It engages the afterburners. The Pratt & Whitney F-100 engines dump raw fuel into the exhaust. It pushes 40 tons of metal past the sound barrier. It becomes the fastest heavy response team on the planet. But here's the flaw. On a modern radar scope, the F-15EX is not a bird. It's a flying barn door. Its radar cross-section is massive compared to stealth aircraft. In a vacuum, the Iranian air defense network would destroy it before it ever released a weapon. Iranian S-300 systems track targets at 250 kilometers. They guide missiles to intercept at 150 kilometers. An F-15EX flying alone dies long before reaching the target. This brings us to the integrated logic. Modern warfare isn't about single platforms. It's about networked lethality. Watch the sequence. The cycle begins in silence. The F-35C launches from the USS Abraham Lincoln and pushes into the red zone. But the pilot keeps his radar off. He flies in passive mode. He's a ghost. Using the EOTS electro-optical targeting system, he visually scans the desert floor. He sniffs the electromagnetic spectrum. He detects the pulse of Iranian S-300 radar. He locates the ventilation shafts of underground bunkers. He finds the target, but he does not shoot. He simply sends a burst of data. That signal wakes up the enabler. Miles away, the EA-18G Growler receives the coordinates. This is the most important aircraft you never hear about. The Growler activates its ALQ-99 jamming pods. It doesn't fire bullets. It fires energy. It blasts the specific frequencies of enemy radar with high-power noise, creating a strobe on enemy screens. It blinds the S-300. It confuses the guidance loops. The Growler carves an invisible corridor through enemy airspace, a tunnel of static. And through that open tunnel, the executioner arrives. Now and only now does the F-15EX enter the fight. The Strike Eagle dives into the corridor carved by the Growler. The pilot doesn't need to search for the target. The F-35 already sent the grid. The pilot doesn't need to dodge missiles. The Growler already blinded the shooters. The F-15EX is simply the delivery mechanism. It releases the GBU-28. The weapon falls. Physics takes over. 5,000 pounds of hardened steel slams into the desert floor. It penetrates the bunker. It detonates. The target is erased. This is the reality of the kill chain. The F-15EX is the muscle. But muscle is useless without the brain of the F-35 and the nervous system of the Growler. We didn't bring the F-15EX to replace the carrier. We brought it to complete the circuit. But why now? Why does this matter in 2026? Because Iran's nuclear program sits in hardened facilities that conventional weapons cannot touch. Natanz, Fordow. These sites are built under mountains with multiple layers of concrete and earth. Satellite imagery shows ventilation shafts, command bunkers, centrifuge halls buried so deep that only the heaviest penetrators can reach them. If conflict erupts, these are the targets that must be neutralized in the opening hours, not with precision strikes, with overwhelming kinetic force. The F-15EX carrying bunker busters is the only platform that can deliver that force while Iranian air defenses are being suppressed. This isn't hypothetical. This is operational planning for scenarios playing out in real time. Look at what's happening geopolitically. Iran continues uranium enrichment. International inspectors report breakout time to weapons-grade material measured in weeks, not months. Proxy attacks by Houthis against shipping in the Red Sea threaten global commerce. Hezbollah stockpiles rockets in Lebanon. Iranian-backed militias operate across Iraq and Syria. The threat isn't potential. It's active. And the military response requires capabilities the carrier alone cannot provide. The F-35C finds the targets invisibly. The EA-18G blinds the defenses electronically. The F-15EX destroys the targets kinetically. Remove any one element and the system fails. Here's what makes this strategy different from past conflicts. In Desert Storm 1991, the coalition had weeks to build up forces. Hundreds of aircraft, massive logistics chains, time to prepare. In 2026, that luxury doesn't exist. Iranian missile forces can strike regional bases in minutes. The window for decisive action is compressed. So American doctrine shifted. Instead of massing overwhelming force slowly, we deploy integrated capabilities that can execute complex strikes immediately. The carrier provides the mobile base. The F-35C provides the sensor network. The Growler provides electronic warfare. The F-15EX provides the kinetic punch. This is called distributed lethality. No single platform does everything, but the system as a whole becomes unstoppable. Compare this to how adversaries operate. Russian doctrine relies on single platform superiority. The Su-57 is supposed to be the ultimate fighter bomber that does everything. Chinese doctrine emphasizes numerical superiority. Build more J-20s and overwhelm through volume. American doctrine rejects both approaches. We don't build wonder weapons, we build systems. The F-15EX is a 50-year-old airframe. But when you give it the eyes of a fifth-generation stealth fighter and back it with the electronic warfare capability of a dedicated jammer, you turn an obsolete truck into the most dangerous component of the kill chain. We don't fight fair. We fight with math. We fight with integration. We fight with platforms that communicate at the speed of light. This is why the Pentagon continues to buy F-15EXs while also procuring F-35s. Critics ask why we need both. Why not just build more stealth fighters? Because stealth has a cost. To hide weapons internally, you sacrifice payload capacity. The F-35C carries 6,000 pounds internally. The F-15EX carries 23,000 pounds externally. When your target is a bunker under a mountain, subtlety is useless. You need mass. You need a weapon heavy enough to punch through concrete. And you need a platform strong enough to carry it. The F-15EX is that platform. It's not obsolete. It's optimized for a mission stealth fighters cannot perform. Look at the broader picture. American military power in 2026 isn't about having the newest technology. It's about having the right tool for every mission and making those tools work together seamlessly. The carrier provides mobility and presence. It projects power across oceans, but carriers operate with constraints. Geographic choke points limit maneuverability. Defensive requirements consume offensive capacity. Physics limits what aircraft can carry internally while maintaining stealth. So instead of trying to make one platform do everything, we deploy complementary capabilities. Land-based F-15EXs provide the heavy strike capability carriers cannot generate alone. This is systems thinking applied to warfare. Understand the constraints of each platform. Deploy them in combinations that eliminate those constraints. Create integrated effects that exceed what any single platform achieves. This approach drives adversaries crazy. They cannot replicate it. Building a stealth fighter is hard but achievable. China did it with the J-20. Russia did it with the Su-57. But building the networking architecture that allows stealth fighters, legacy platforms, electronic warfare aircraft, and naval assets to share data in real time and execute coordinated strikes, that requires software, data links, training, doctrine, and institutional knowledge built over decades. You cannot copy it. You cannot steal it. You have to develop it through thousands of hours of joint operations. American forces train together constantly, Navy and Air Force, F-35s and F-15, carriers and land bases. That integration is the real advantage, not any single aircraft, the system. So when you see that F-15EX taking off from a desert airstrip, don't call it a relic. Call it the kinetic sovereign. It's the platform that carries the weapons that destroy targets stealth fighters cannot touch. And when guided by F-35 sensors and protected by Growler jamming, it becomes unstoppable. This is the reality of American air power in 2026. We don't rely on wonder weapons. We rely on integrated systems that combine old iron with new silicon to create effects adversaries cannot counter. The F-15EX proves that age doesn't determine relevance. Mission capability does. And in the mission of destroying hardened underground bunkers defended by advanced air defenses, nothing matches the Strike Eagle when operating as part of the networked kill chain. Hit subscribe if you want to understand how engineering and geography shape modern warfare. Systems defeat platforms every time.